Oh, can you imagine the fire in Marcus and Michael Thompson's hearts as they stepped into the Warriors Path Karate Dojo, knowing they'd stand out as two of the only black students in a sea of white faces. At just 14, these twins were ready to face the challenge, their yellow belts barely tied, earned after 3 grueling months of white belt training. But nothing could have prepared them for the storm waiting to crash over them. From day one, Jake Harrison and Connor Mills, two smug 17-year-old black belt bullies, zeroed in on the twins with a vicious glint in their eyes, determined to shatter them.
Can you believe the audacity?
They thought they could break these boys, but oh, how wrong they were. What Jake and Connor didn't know was that every night, after enduring their cruel taunts, the twins were forging themselves into warriors under the fierce guidance of their father, David Thompson. Those bullies smirked, thinking they were crushing 2 helpless yellow belts, but they were stoking a fire that would burn their world down.
Picture this. The dojo is mirrored while catch the late afternoon sun, bouncing light across the Eastgate Shopping Plaza in Milbrook.
20 students in crisp white GIs fill the space, their colored belts flashing, white, green, brown, black, marking their journey in martial arts. Marcus and Michael, identical in their athletic builds from years of basketball, move with that uncanny twin sync, like shadows mirroring each other. When Marcus shifts his weight, Michael does too, no thought needed. Their punches land on a heavy bag with dull thuds, sweat dripping from their foreheads as they wrestle with the jab cross-hook combo Sensei Robert Mitchell demonstrated. Can you feel their frustration? Their timing's off, their stances wobbly, but their eyes burn with determination. They're new raw, but oh, there's a spark in them that nobody sees. Not yet. Yellow belts over here. Sensei Mitchell's voice booms across the dojo, his black belt, soft from years of wear, swaying as he strides with authority. 50 years old, he's seen it all, or so he thinks. The twins hustle to the designated spot, their thighs screaming as they drop into the horse stance, holding it for a full minute as Mitchell barks, "Keep those backs straight, yellow belts." Power comes from a proper foundation. Around them, advanced students flow through forms with liquid grace, making the twins' inexperience painfully clear.
Can you imagine standing out like that?
2 of only 3 black students in a room of 20, their yellow belts screaming newbie in a place where respect is hard won? But then, oh, the sting! Jake Harrison's voice slices through the air from the black belt corner. "Look at the twins," he sneers, his tone dripping with mockery that makes Marcus's shoulders lock tight. Like watching 2 monkeys trying to figure out human movements. Connor Mills snickers, piling on with, "Maybe they'll learn faster if we throw them some bananas." The words land like punches, harder than any kick. Marcus's stance falters, and Michael's does too, their twin bond amplifying the pain.
Can you feel the rage bubbling up?
Other students glance over, their eyes flickering with unease, but nobody speaks up.
And Sensei Mitchell?
He's 10 feet away, preaching about foundations, acting like he didn't hear a thing. How could he ignore such venom? Michael's jaw clenches, his fists balling at his sides, and Marcus feels it, the shared fury, the doubled shame.
When one hurt, both bleed.
Their connection makes every slight a shared wound, every insult a double scar. But they grit their teeth, holding their stance, refusing to crumble.
Time for sparring drill.
Mitchell claps twice, his voice sharp. "Partner up with someone near your skill level." Marcus wipes his sweaty palms on his GI, scanning for another yellow belt, his heart racing. But oh, here comes Jake, strutting over with that predator smile, Connor right behind him. Fresh meat. Jake taunts, his voice loud enough for his buddies to chuckle. Let's see what these 2 can actually do. Michael, ever the thinker, tries to steer clear. "We should partner with other yellow belts," he says softly, his analytical mind searching for an escape. But Connor cuts him off, his black belt gleaming against his GI, a stark contrast to their yellow ones. "Don't worry," he drawls, his tone laced with cruelty. "We'll teach you some real techniques, unless you'd rather go back to whatever you learned on the streets." The racism in his words, oh, it's like a slap across the face. Marcus's vision blurs with anger, his feet itching to step forward, but Michael's hand grabs his arm, their twin instinct kicking in to avoid a fight they can't win. "Not yet."
Bow to your partner.
Mitchell calls from across the room, oblivious or uncaring.
Marcus face Connor, Michael face Jake, and the twins share a quick glance, wordless, fierce, a promise to survive. Light contact only. Mitchell shoe.
This is about technique, not power. But oh, what a lie that turns out to be. The sparring starts, and Marcus knows they're in deep trouble. Connor's first kick, supposedly pulled, slams into his ribs with a force that steals his breath, sending him stumbling back, his shaky footwork betraying him. Oops. Connor says, his voice mocking, eyes glinting with fake concern. Guess these yellow belts are even softer than they look. Across the mat, Michael's getting the same treatment. Jake's light punches land with cruel precision, each one a deliberate jab at his pride. When Michael tries a basic combo, Jake swats it aside and sweeps his legs, sending him crashing to the mat.
Stay down there.
Jake hisses, not offering a hand.
That is where you belong anyway.
Michael scrambles up, his face a storm of embarrassment and fury, and Marcus feels it all, the sting, the shame, doubled through their bond. Can you imagine the weight of that moment? 10 minutes of this torture, bruises blooming on their skin, while Jake and Connor play it off as instruction, their taunts growing bolder as Mitchell looks anywhere but at them. Maybe your daddy should have signed you up for basketball instead.
Connor pend, landing en accidental elbow on Marcus's shoulder.
Stick to what your people are good at. Marcus grits his teeth, tasting blood from a split lip. We're not quitting, he growls, defiance burning in his chest. We'll see about that. Jake snaps, yanking Michael up from another takedown with a roughness that's anything but accidental. Oh, the nerve of these bullies, thinking they can crush the twins' spirit. As the session ends, Marcus and Michael gather their gear in silence, their limps slight but telling, their yellow belts a painful reminder of how outmatched they feel. The room's heavy with discomfort, other students avoiding their eyes, nobody daring to challenge the black belt's reign. Good work today, Mitchell announces, his voice ringing hollow. Remember, martial arts builds character through discipline and respect.
The irony cut deep, doesn't it?
How can he preach respect when he's blind to the cruelty unfolding under his nose? Marcus catches Jake and Connor's whispers by the equipment rack, their words slicing through the air. Won't last another month. Daddy's probably in prison anyway, should stick to their own kind of places. Michael's step falters, his control slipping, and Marcus feels the rage surge between them. But before they can react, the rumble of their father's pickup truck roars into the parking lot, a lifeline in the chaos. David Thompson, a man built tough by construction work and 8 years in the army, steps out, his dark eyes scanning his son's battered forms. Can you see the storm brewing in his gaze? How was class? David asks, his voice steady but commanding, the kind that demands truth. Fine, the twins reply in perfect unison, their sync unbroken even in their lie. But David's not fooled, oh no. His gaze lingers on Marcus's split lip, Michael's reddened forearms, the way they move like they're hiding pain. Learn anything useful, he presses, his tone sharp. Yeah, Marcus says, locking eyes with Michael, their silent bond carrying a world of unspoken truth. We learned a lot. But oh, what they've learned isn't what David thinks, not yet. 3 weeks drag on, each Tuesday and Thursday a fresh gauntlet of pain. The twins show up to the dojo with stubborn resolve, but Jake and Connor are relentless, their mission to break them unyielding.
Partner rotation today.
Mitchell announces in their 6th week, his voice cutting through the dojo's hum. Advanced students, help beginners with sparring fundamentals. Marcus's stomach drops. Can you feel that dread? As Jake's eyes lock onto his, that predatory grin flashing like a warning sign. Looks like Christmas came early. Connor mutters to Jake, loud enough for others to hear. Fresh targets.
Oh, the arrogance.
The session starts with a cruel facade of teaching. Jake shows Michael a blocking technique, his moves slow, almost gentle, for the parents watching from the observation area. See how I position my arm, he says, his voice dripping with fake patience. Try it. Michael copies him, and Jake nods, then bam. A strike slips past Michael's guard, slamming into his solar plexus. Michael doubles over, gasping, the air stolen from his lungs. You dropped your guard. Jake says, his concern as fake as his smile. In a real fight, that hesitation gets you hurt.
Can you believe the nerve?
Marcus lunges forward, instinct screaming to protect his brother, but Connor's hand clamps onto his shoulder hard. Your brother needs to learn for himself. Connor sneers. Unless you think he's too weak to handle real training?
The challenge hang like a blade.
Marcus knows stepping back means leaving Michael to suffer, but stepping up means facing Connor's wrath. I can handle whatever you've got. Marcus snaps, his voice steady despite the fear clawing at him.
Connor's grain dense, predatory and cold.
Good. Let's work on combinations. What follows is 20 minutes of pure torment, disguised as training. Connor's strikes hit harder than they should, each correction a shove or trip that sends Marcus sprawling. You're too aggressive. Connor taunts after a leg sweep drops Marcus hard. Your people always think force solves everything, but martial arts is about control. The racial jab, oh, it's subtle enough to dodge blame but sharp enough to cut deep. Marcus's anger surges, the fire Michael usually tempers, but his brother's across the mat, battling Jake's own brand of cruelty. Can you feel the twins' isolation, trapped in this rigged game? Michael's struggling, every lesson from Jake landing him on his back, winded, disoriented. Maybe you should consider a different hobby. Jake jeers, yanking Michael up with a grip that bruises. Something more natural for you, basketball, maybe running.
Michael's eyes flash with defiance.
I'm not quitting, he says, his voice quiet but iron hard, earning another brutal drill. Mitchell watches from the front desk, his face smug, as if this is character building.
Can you stand it?
Parents ask about the intensity, and he spouts nonsense about adversity forging strength. Traditional martial arts aren't for everyone, he tells a concerned mom. We maintain high standards here. Standards? What a joke. After class, the twins slump in their father's truck, ice packs pressed to bruises, silence heavy between them. Dad's gonna notice eventually, Michael says, wincing as he adjusts the ice on his ribs. We tell him we're learning, Marcus replies, his voice tight. Which is true. Learning what? That we don't belong here? Michael's words sting, his usual calm cracking. Marcus studies his brother's profile. Oh, how different they handle pain. Marcus burns hot, ready to explode, while Michael bottles it up, letting it fester.
We belong anywhere we want to be.
Marcus says fiercely. They don't get to decide that for us. Tell that to my ribs, Michael mutters, but there's a spark in his eyes, a shared resolve. 2 days later, David makes a surprise move. Can you feel the shift? Instead of dropping them off, he parks and walks into the dojo, his military bearing turning heads. The twins exchange nervous glances as he settles into the parent seating area, his presence a shield they haven't felt in weeks.
Monsieur Thompson. Mitchell greet, all professional charm.
Nice to see a parent taking interest in their children's training. Always interested in my boy's education, David replies, his eyes sharp, scanning the room like a hawk. The class feels different. Oh, it's palpable. Jake and Connor keep their roles as senior students, but their taunts are softer, their hits lighter, calculated to fly under David's radar. Good effort today. Jake tells Michael after a grappling session, his voice dripping with fake praise. You're really improving. Your father must be proud of how well you're adapting to our environment. The word adapting lands like a coded insult, but it's so slick David sees only encouragement. Connor's the same with Marcus, his praise laced with venom. You're getting better at taking direction. It's good to see you learning your place in the hierarchy. Can you hear the sneer hidden in his words? After class, David chats with Mitchell, oblivious to the twins' clenched jaws. They're dedicated students, Mitchell says, all smiles. Natural athleticism, but they need to understand martial arts is about fitting into a structured environment. They're good kids, David replies. Raised to respect authority and work hard. I can see that, Mitchell nods. With the right guidance, they'll find their proper level here. Proper level, oh the gall. The phrase hits the twins like a slap, but David misses the barb, satisfied with what he's seen. In the truck, he's all approval. Looks like you boys are getting good training in there. That Mitchell fellow runs a tight ship. Yes, sir, the twins reply, their sync masking the bitter taste of his words. Those older students seem helpful too, good to see experienced kids taking newcomers under their wing.
Marcus stares out the window, the world blurring past.
Can you feel his heart sinking? David seeing mentorship where there's only torment, guidance where there's abuse. They're teaching us a lot, Michael says from the back, his voice hollow. And oh they are, about racism, about how authority can turn a blind eye, about surviving in a room full of silent bystanders. That night, in their shared bedroom, the twins finally crack open the truth. It's not getting better. Michael whispers, the darkness amplifying his fear. I know, Marcus admits, his voice heavy. What if we told Dad the truth?
Marcus hésitate.
David's always preached fighting their own battles, earning respect through grit. How do you tell him the system's rigged? He wouldn't believe it. Marcus says. He saw Mitchell tonight, saw Jake and Connor. Everything looked normal to him because they made it look normal. Exactly. Michael agrees. And if we complain, we look like quitters, like we can't handle real training. Michael's silence stretches, and Marcus thinks he's drifted off. Then, his brother's voice cuts through, fierce and resolute. Then we get better. Strong enough that they can't hurt us anymore. How? Marcus asks, doubt creeping in. They're black belts, we just got our yellow belts. I don't know yet, Michael admits, but there has to be a way. Can you feel their determination, burning bright in the quiet night? Outside, Milbrook streets glow under streetlights, a facade of peace hiding the war the twins are planning, a war their father can't see, and their dojo refuses to acknowledge. The 8th week dawns, and the twins drag their gear to the dojo, David sipping coffee in the kitchen, exhaustion etched in his face from overtime work. You boys need a ride home tonight? He asks, glancing at his watch. I might swing by after my meeting. We can walk, Marcus says fast. Too fast. The last thing they need is David seeing another round of abuse. It's getting dark earlier, David notes, concern in his voice.
I don't mind picking you up.
Really, Dad, we're fine.
Michael chimine.
The fresh air helps us cool down after training. David studies them, then nods. All right, but call if you change your minds. At the dojo, they've been practicing at home, sneaking online videos to sharpen their forms, and it shows, oh, it's subtle, but their moves are crisper.
Time for partner drill.
Mitchell announces. Today, we're working on defensive techniques against multiple attackers. The twins' hearts sink. Can you feel that dread? Jake and Connor volunteer to demonstrate, their eagerness a red flag Mitchell ignores. The key is staying mobile. Jake explains, circling the twins like a shark. When outnumbered, you can't plant your feet and trade punches. What follows is pure cruelty, cloaked in teaching. Jake and Connor unleash a barrage, each move calculated to hurt. Connor sweeps Michael's legs, sending him crashing. See how they're trying to back up, he calls to the class. That's exactly what not to do. Natural instincts don't work in real martial arts. Marcus reaches for his brother, but Jake's knee slams into his gut, doubling him over.
Focus on your own survival first. Jake smirks, grinding Marcus's face into the mat. Can't help your partner if you're on the ground where you belong. Oh, the humiliation.
15 minutes of this, the twins battered, unable to fight back, Jake's grip leaving bruises on Michael's arm as he helps him up. Some people just aren't cut out for this level of training, he sneers. Class ends, and they grab their gear, stoic but broken inside. But then, surprise! David's truck rolls into the lot, his meeting cut short.
Through the dojo's windows, hear Jake and Connor logging.
Did you see how fast they went down?
Connor brag.
Like they've never been in a real fight before. Probably learned everything they know on the streets.
Jake had no discipline, no technique, just wild swinging like animal.
David's blood freezes. Can you feel his rage? As the twins step out, their injuries glaring under the parking lot lights, his military instincts scream abuse. Get in the truck, he orders, his voice a low growl.
At home, under the kitchen's archlights, the truth spill out.
How long?
David demande.
Dad, it's not, Marcus starts, but David cuts him off. How long? Since the beginning, Michael whispers. Since our first day. The story pours out, 8 weeks of torment, racial slurs, beatings, all while Mitchell looked away.
The instructor saw all this.
David asks, pacing. He was right there. Marcus says. But when you visited, they made it look normal.
David's face ardent.
What do we do? Michael asks, voice small.
David's mind race, Military precision kicking in.
We give them one chance to make this right.
I'll speak to Mitchell tomorrow.
What if he doesn't listen?
Marcus press. Davides smiley scold, fierce.
Then we handle it ourselves. Can you feel the turning point, the promise of justice igniting in their hearts? Oh, can you feel the rage simmering in Marcus Thompson's chest, that fiery spark his twin brother Michael always helps him tame? But there Michael is, across the mat at Warriors Path Karate Dojo, grappling with his own torment, unable to anchor Marcus's storm. Jake Harrison's so-called demonstrations are nothing but cruelty, each move slamming Michael to the ground, leaving him winded, disoriented, gasping for air. Maybe you should consider a different hobby. Jake sneers, yanking Michael up from another brutal throw, his grip tight and mocking. Something more natural for you, basketball, maybe running. Can you believe the venom in those words, dripping with racial scorn? Michael's eyes flash, his quiet resolve a steel wall against the taunts. I'm not quitting, he declares, his voice low but fierce, earning him another punishing drill that makes his ribs scream. Oh, how that determination burns bright, even as his body begs for mercy. From his perch near the front desk, Sensei Robert Mitchell watches with a smug satisfaction that churns your stomach.
Can you stand it?
When worried parents question the intensity, he spins tales of character forged in adversity. Traditional martial arts aren't for everyone, he tells a mother whose son begged to switch partners, her brow furrowed with concern. We maintain high standards here. Standards? What a cruel joke. His high standards seem to mean turning a blind eye to the twins' suffering, letting Jake and Connor Mills, those arrogant black belt bullies, reign unchecked in this predominantly white dojo in Milbrook's Eastgate shopping plaza. After class, Marcus and Michael slump into their father's pickup truck, ice packs pressed against throbbing bruises, the silence between them thick with shared pain and desperation. Can you feel the weight of it? Dad's gonna notice eventually. Michael mutters, wincing as he adjusts the ice on his battered ribs. We tell him we're learning. Marcus shoots back, his voice tight with defiance. Which is true? Michael's question hangs heavy, his eyes searching his brother's face. Marcus turns, studying Michael's profile, so like his own yet so different in how they carry their pain. Marcus burns hot, ready to explode, while Michael bottles it all up, letting it gnaw at him from within.
We belong anywhere we want to be.
Marcus says, his words fierce, unyielding. They don't get to decide that for us. Tell that to my ribs. Michael retorts, but there's a flicker of agreement in his gaze, a shared vow to endure. Oh, how their twin bond holds them together, even in this storm. 2 days later, a seismic shift. Can you feel it coming? David Thompson, their father, a man hardened by 8 years in the army and years of construction work, makes an unexpected call. Instead of dropping the twins at the dojo's entrance, he parks his truck, his boots hitting the pavement with purpose. I want to observe a class, he announces, and the twins exchange nervous glances, their hearts pounding. Can you imagine their fear, knowing Jake and Connor's cruelty but dreading what David might see, or miss? David settles into the parents' seating area, his military bearing a quiet force that shifts the dojo's atmosphere, like a shield the boys haven't felt in weeks. His presence alone demands respect. Oh, it's palpable.
Monsieur Thompson.
Sensei Mitchell greets, his professional smile masking the unease in his eyes. Nice to see a parent taking interest in their children's training. Always interested in my boy's education. David replies, his tone even but his gaze sharp, scanning the room like a hawk sizing up a battlefield. The class unfolds differently. Can you sense the tension? Jake and Connor play their parts as senior students, but their taunts are cloaked, their hits restrained, calculated to slip past David's watchful eyes. Good effort today. Jake tells Michael after a grappling session that leaves bruises blooming under his GI, his voice oozing false praise. You're really improving. Your father must be proud of how well you're adapting to our environment. The word adapting lands like a coded slap, but it's so slick, so sincere, that David, watching from across the room, sees only mentorship. Can you feel the twins' stomachs twist at the deception? Connor's no better, his praise for Marcus dripping with condescension. You're getting better at taking direction, he says, his black belt gleaming against his GI, a stark contrast to Marcus's yellow one. It's good to see you learning your place in the hierarchy. Oh, the sting of those words, veiled just enough to dodge blame but sharp enough to cut deep. Marcus's jaw tightens, his fists itching to respond, but he holds back, their twin bond urging restraint. After class, David chats with Mitchell, oblivious to the twins' clenched hearts. They're dedicated students. Mitchell says, his smile all charm. Natural athleticism, but they need to understand martial arts is about more than physical ability, it's about fitting into a structured environment. They're good kids. David replies, pride in his voice. Raised to respect authority and work hard. I can see that. Mitchell nods, his tone smooth. With the right guidance, they'll find their proper level here. Proper level, oh the gall of it. The phrase hits Marcus and Michael like a fist, its subtle barb sailing past David but landing square in their chests. Can you imagine the pain of hearing your worth reduced to a level you'll never reach in their eyes?
In the truck, David au la Proval, blind to the truth.
Looks like you boys are getting good training in there. That Mitchell fellow runs a tight ship. Yes, sir. The twins reply in unison, their sink a mask for the bitter irony choking them. Those older students seem helpful too. David adds, his voice warm. Good to see experienced kids taking newcomers under their wing. Marcus stares out the passenger window, Milbrook streets blurring past, his heart sinking. Can you feel his despair? David seeing guidance where there's only torment, mentorship where there's abuse. They're teaching us a lot. Michael says from the back seat, his voice quiet, hollow. And oh they are, about institutional racism, about how authority can turn a blind eye, about surviving in a room full of silent bystanders.
That is what I like to hear.
David says, pulling into their driveway, his voice full of pride. Martial arts builds character, teaches you to handle whatever life throws at you. As they grab their gear bags, Marcus catches Michael's eye in the truck's dome light, a silent vow passing between them. They're handling life's blows, but not how David imagines, oh not at all. That night, in the darkness of their shared bedroom, the twins finally crack open their truth. It's not getting better. Michael whispers, the shadows amplifying his fear. I know. Marcus admits, his voice heavy with frustration. What if we told Dad the truth?
Marcus hesitat, his mind racing.
David's always preached fighting their own battles, earning respect through grit. How do you tell him the system's rigged against you? He wouldn't believe it. Marcus says, his words sharp. He saw Mitchell tonight, saw Jake and Connor. Everything looked normal to him because they made it look normal. Exactly. Michael agrees, his voice trembling. And if we complain, we look like quitters, like we can't handle real training. Can you feel their isolation, trapped in a world that won't see their pain? Michael's silence stretches, and Marcus thinks he's drifted off. Then, his brother's voice slices through, fierce and unyielding. Then we get better. Strong enough that they can't hurt us anymore. How? Marcus asks, doubt creeping in. They're black belts, we just got our yellow belts. I don't know yet. Michael admits, but his resolve is iron. But there has to be a way. Oh, can you hear the fire in his words, the spark of a plan forming in the quiet night? Outside, Milbrook streets glow under streetlights, a facade of the American dream their parents fought for. Inside, two 14-year-old boys plot their survival in a war their father can't see, a war their dojo refuses to acknowledge. The 8th week dawns, and the twins haul their gear to the dojo, David sipping coffee in the kitchen, exhaustion etched in his face from overtime on a construction project. You boys need a ride home tonight? He asks, glancing at his watch. I might swing by after my meeting with the electrical contractor. We can walk. Marcus says, too quick, panic flashing in his eyes. Oh, they can't let David see another round of abuse. It's getting dark earlier. David notes, concern creasing his brow.
I don't mind picking you up.
Really, Dad, we're fine. Michael chimes in, his voice steady. The fresh air helps us cool down after training. David studies them, his gaze piercing, then nods. All right, but call if you change your minds. Can you feel their relief, tinged with dread? At the dojo, they've been sneaking practice at home, poring over online videos to sharpen their forms, and it shows, their moves are tighter, their stances firmer.
Time for partner drill.
Mitchell announces, his voice cutting through the hum of the dojo. Today, we're working on defensive techniques against multiple attackers. The twins' hearts sink. Oh, can you feel that icy dread? The exercise is for advanced students, but somehow, they're picked as demonstration partners. Jake and Connor volunteer with a gleam in their eyes, their eagerness a warning Mitchell ignores. The key is staying mobile. Jake says, circling the twins like a vulture. When outnumbered, you can't plant your feet and trade punches. What follows is a masterclass in cruelty, cloaked in teaching. Jake and Connor unleash a relentless assault, each move designed to hurt. Connor sweeps Michael's legs, sending him crashing to the mat. See how they're trying to back up, he calls to the class, his voice mocking. That's exactly what not to do. Natural instincts don't work in real martial arts. Marcus reaches for his brother, but Jake's knee slams into his gut, doubling him over.
Focus on your own survival first. Jake smirks, grinding Marcus's face into the mat. Can't help your partner if you're on the ground where you belong.
Oh, the humiliation, burning hotter than their bruises. 15 minutes of this torment, the twins battered, unable to fight back, Jake's grip leaving finger-shaped bruises on Michael's arm as he helps him up. Some people just aren't cut out for this level of training, he sneers, his eyes cold. Class ends, and they grab their gear, stoic but shattered inside. But then, oh the shock! David's truck rolls into the lot, his meeting cut short. Through the dojo's windows, he hears Jake and Connor laughing by the equipment rack. Did you see how fast they went down? Connor brags, his voice carrying clear. Like they've never been in a real fight before. Probably learned everything they know on the streets.
Gi-clad, no discipline, no technique, just wild swinging like animal.
David's blood turns to ice. Can you feel his rage igniting? As the twins step out, their injuries glaring under the parking lot lights, his military instincts scream abuse. Marcus's lip is split, his GI torn at the shoulder. Michael moves like his ribs are cracked. Get in the truck. David orders, his voice a low, dangerous growl.
At home, under the kitchen's arch lights, the truth spill out like a dam breaking.
How long? He demands, his eyes blazing. Dad, it's not, Marcus starts, but David's voice cuts like a blade. How long? Since the beginning.
Michael whisper, his voice breaking.
Since our first day. The story pours out, 8 weeks of torment, racial slurs, beatings, all while Mitchell turned away.
The instructor saw all this.
David asks, pacing, his reflection in the window, a man wrestling with a decision that'll shape their future. He was right there. Marcus says, his voice raw. But when you visited, they made it look normal.
David's face ardent, a storm brewing.
What do we do? Michael asks, his voice small, pleading.
David's mind race, military precision locking in.
We give them one chance to make this right.
He'll speak to Mitchell tomorrow.
What if he doesn't listen? Marcus presses, his heart pounding.
David's smile is cold, fierce, a promise of reckoning.
Then we handle it ourselves. Oh, can you feel the fire igniting, the vow of justice rising in their souls, ready to burn away the lies and pain? Oh, can you feel the weight of that moment, the air thick with tension as Michael's voice trembles, asking, what do we do? His eyes search his father's face, desperate for a lifeline in the storm of pain and humiliation that's battered him and Marcus for weeks at Warriors Path Karate Dojo. David Thompson, a man forged by 8 years in the Army, stands silent for a heartbeat, his mind racing with military precision, weighing every option like a general on the eve of battle. Then, his decision lands like a thunderclap. We give them one chance to make this right.
He'll speak to Mitchell tomorrow.
Marcus, his heart pounding, dares to ask, what if he doesn't listen? David's smile, oh it's chilling, devoid of warmth, a promise of reckoning. Then we handle it ourselves. Can you imagine the fire igniting in the twin souls, the hope that justice might finally be theirs? That night, David doesn't sleep. How could he, knowing his sons have been targeted, beaten, and mocked under the guise of training? He strides to the garage, his boots echoing with purpose, and hauls out a heavy bag and focus mitts, dusty from years of storage. If the system, Sensei Mitchell, the dojo, the whole rotten structure, won't protect Marcus and Michael, then by God, he'll arm them with the tools to protect themselves. Can you see him, A father driven by love and fury, ready to forge his boys into warriors? The next evening, David marches into the dojo, his construction-hardened frame radiating resolve. Sensei Mitchell glances up from the front desk, his professional smile faltering. Oh, he senses trouble. "Mr. Thompson, what can I do for you?" he asks, his voice smooth but wary. "We need to talk about my sons and what's been happening in your classes." David's tone is a blade, sharp and unyielding. Mitchell's face stays neutral, but a flicker of unease betrays him. "Of course, let's step into my office." As they move, Jake Harrison and Connor Mills, those arrogant black belt bullies, pause their warm-ups, their smug grins fading to concern.
Can you feel it?
Everything's about to change. David follows Mitchell into the cramped office, his eyes scanning the walls, framed certificates, tournament photos, motivational posters screaming discipline and honor. What a farce. This space, dripping with tradition, is the perfect mask for the abuse festering under its roof. "Please have a seat," Mitchell says, settling behind his desk with the smug confidence of a man who's dodged angry parents before. But David doesn't sit, oh no. He stands tall, his broad shoulders filling the room, tension crackling like a live wire. "My sons have been getting beaten up in your classes for 2 months, he says, his voice steady but laced with danger. "Systematically harassed, targeted with racial comments, physically abused by your black belt students." Mitchell's face shifts to practiced concern, but it's as fake as his dojo's honor. "Mr. Thompson, I understand training can be intense, especially for newer students, but what you're describing doesn't sound like the program we run here."
Can you believe the gal? Dismissing it like it's nothing?
Jake Harrison and Connor Mills have been using my boys as punching bags. David presses, his words cutting through Mitchell's lies. "Under your supervision, in front of other students, and you've done nothing to stop it." Mitchell leans back, his chair creaking, his tone infuriatingly calm. "Those are serious allegations. Jake and Connor are exemplary students from respected families. They've been training here for years." The emphasis on respected families lands like a slap. Oh, it's clear whose side he's on. David's hands clench into fists, his knuckles whitening. "Are you saying my sons are lying?" His voice is a low growl, daring Mitchell to cross that line. "I'm saying young people sometimes misinterpret firm instruction as harassment." Mitchell replies, his words dripping with condescension. "Martial arts training can be challenging, and not everyone is suited for it." Can you feel David's rage boiling, barely contained? David's eyes narrow, his voice sharp as a blade. "Last night, I heard those boys calling my sons animals, making jokes about street fighting. Are you going to tell me that's firm instruction?" Mitchell's composure cracks, just a hair, but it's there. "I wasn't aware of any inappropriate language," he stammers. "If something was said, you were 10 feet away when it happened."
David snaps, cutting through the excuse. "Don't insulte my intelligence."
The silence that follows is heavy, charged with unspoken threats and Mitchell's failure to protect Marcus and Michael. He clears his throat, shuffling papers on his desk like a coward dodging the truth. "Perhaps we can find a solution that works for everyone," he says, his voice weak. The Harrison and Mills families have been significant supporters of this dojo. Their contributions help keep our doors open and provide scholarships for other students. Oh, the nerve, admitting he's bought and paid for. "So you're protecting them because they pay you?" David's question is a whip, cracking through the air. Mitchell squirms, his eyes darting. "I'm maintaining a delicate balance that benefits the entire school community. Your sons are capable young men, but they might be happier in a different environment, something more suited to their background." David steps closer, looming over the desk, his voice dropping to a whisper that's more menacing than a shout. "Their background, you mean being black?" Can you feel the weight of that moment, the ugly truth laid bare?
Mitchell flinch, backpedaling.
"I mean being new to structured training environments. Some students adapt better to traditional discipline than others." Traditional discipline. David scoffs, his voice rising. "Is that what you call 2 black belts beating up yellow belts while you watch?" Mitchell stands, trying to match David's intensity, his face flushed. "Mr. Thompson, I've been running this dojo for 15 years. I know the difference between training and abuse. If your sons are struggling with the intensity of our program, they're not struggling. David roars, cutting him off. They're being targeted.
The word hang like a gauntlet, a challenge Mitchell can't dodge.
His eyes flicker with calculation. This isn't ignorance, oh no, it's complicity, dressed up as necessity. Then perhaps this isn't the right school for them, he says, his voice cold, final. Can you believe he'd rather push the twins out than face the truth? David stares him down, seeing the greed behind Mitchell's mask. So that's your solution? My sons leave quietly, and you keep taking money from racist parents to let their kids terrorize anyone who doesn't fit their idea of what belongs here. Mitchell bristles, but his voice stays measured. I'm trying to find a practical resolution to a difficult situation. David turns toward the door, then pauses, his hand on the knob. You have until tomorrow night to fix this, he says, his voice icy. Transfer those boys to different classes, discipline them publicly, make it clear harassment stops now, whatever it takes. And if I don't? Mitchell asks, a hint of defiance creeping in.
David's smile is arctique, a promise of war.
Then I handle it my way. Oh, can you feel the chill in those words, the vow of a father ready to burn it all down for his sons? Outside, the evening class hums to life, the dojo's mirrored walls reflecting the twins warming up, their movements cautious, their bodies still aching from last night's bruises. Jake and Connor strut across the room, their body language cocky, oblivious to the storm David's unleashed. Can you see their arrogance, so sure they're untouchable? Inside the office, Mitchell slumps in his chair, his mind racing. The Harrison and Mills families, oh, they're the dojo's lifeline, pouring in over 30% of its revenue through fees, private lessons, equipment. Losing them could mean slashing programs, firing staff, maybe even closing the doors for good. But David Thompson's eyes, those eyes held the steel of a man who doesn't bluff. Can you imagine Mitchell's panic, torn between greed and fear? Back at the Thompson house, Marcus and Michael sit at the kitchen table, homework spread before them, but their eyes keep darting to the clock. Can you feel their anxiety, the seconds ticking like a countdown to judgment? Michael's pencil taps nervously against his math textbook. What do you think he's going to say? He asks, his voice tight. Marcus grips his pen, his knuckles tense. Whatever needs saying, he replies, but oh, his own fear shows in the way his hand shakes. What if it makes things worse?
Michael press, his voice barely above a whisper.
Marcus looks up from his history assignment, his eyes fierce. How could they get worse? They're already trying to break us. They could actually break us. Michael says, his fear spilling out. Or get us kicked out. Marcus's gaze softens, but his resolve doesn't waver. Maybe that wouldn't be the worst thing. Michael stares, shocked. Can you see the rift between them, even in their twin bond? You want to quit? He asks, incredulous. I want to be somewhere we're not treated like garbage every day. Marcus snaps, his voice raw. But I also want to prove we belong wherever we choose to be. Those two things might not be compatible. Then we make them compatible. Michael says, his quiet determination mirroring his brother's fire. Oh, can you feel their shared resolve, forged in pain but unbreakable? The front door creaks open, and the twins freeze as David steps inside, his expression grim, his military bearing sharper than ever. How did it go? Marcus asks, his heart in his throat. David hangs his keys on the hook, joining them at the table, his presence heavy with purpose. Mitchell's more concerned about his donors than his students, he says, his voice low, furious. He basically admitted he knows what's happening and doesn't plan to stop it. Can you hear the betrayal in his words, the sting of a system failing his boys?
So what now?
Michael asks, his voice small but urgent. David studies their faces, seeing his own stubborn streak, their mother's moral compass. Oh, these boys won't back down, not when it's about dignity, respect. Now we prepare for the possibility that talking won't solve this problem, he says, his words heavy with intent.
Marcus's eyes narrow, sensing the shift.
What does that mean? He asks, though David's tone tells him he already knows. It means if the system won't protect you, I'll teach you to protect yourselves, really protect yourselves.
Michael feel a chill, anticipation mixed with fear.
Are you talking about fighting? He asks, his voice trembling. I'm talking about survival. David says, his eyes blazing. About making sure nobody ever puts their hands on you again without consequences. Can you feel the power in that vow, the promise of strength rising from their pain? That night, David transforms the garage into a battlefield. He clears space, hangs the heavy bag from a reinforced beam, sets out focus mitts. Oh, it's like a warrior's forge. The twins watch wide-eyed, as their father turns their mundane workshop into a training ground. Your mother doesn't need to know about this yet, David says, testing the bag's stability, his voice firm. This stays between us until we see how things play out at the dojo. Marcus's heart races. What exactly are you going to teach us? He asks, awe and fear mixing in his voice. David's smile is sharp, full of promise. Everything I learned in 8 years of military combat training. Everything they don't teach in pretty dojos with pretty rules.
Michael sighs within.
Is that legal? He asks, his analytical mind racing. Self-defense is always legal. David says, his voice iron. And after what I saw tonight, what's been done to you boys, anything you do to protect yourselves will be justified.
Oh, quand you feel the shift, the twins stepping into a new world of power.
The twins exchange a glance, their silent bond carrying volumes. David's offering them something the dojo never did. Real power, real protection, real respect.
When do we start?
Marcus asks, his voice eager, ready to seize this chance. Right now. David replies, pulling on focus mitts, his eyes fierce. Because tomorrow night, we find out if Mitchell keeps his word, and if he doesn't. The garage hums with purpose, transformed from a workspace into a crucible of possibility. David moves his truck outside, rearranges tools, creates an open arena where the heavy bag sways in the cool evening air. Can you see it, this sacred space where warriors are born?
First leçon.
David says, wrapping his hands with cloth strips, his movements deliberate. Everything you've learned at that dojo is designed to make you predictable. Traditional stances, traditional combinations, traditional responses. In a real fight, predictable gets you hurt. Marcus and Michael stand side by side, still in their school clothes, unsure but electrified by their father's intensity. Can you feel their anticipation, their hunger to reclaim their strength? Dad, we're not trying to hurt anyone. Michael says, his voice cautious. We just want them to leave us alone.
David log dit humorless. Roistrous.
Son, they've been hurting you for 2 months. This isn't about starting fights, it's about ending them quickly when they start with you. He demonstrates a stance, low mobile, hands poised for striking, nothing like the dojo's rigid forms. Can you see the twins' eyes widen, absorbing this new way? In the army, we didn't have time for fancy forms or elaborate techniques. David says, his voice commanding. We learned to neutralize threats efficiently and move on. That's what I'm going to teach you. For the next hour, he drills them relentlessly, speed, aggression, targeting weak spots. No ritualized sparring, no pulled punches, no tournament rules. Hit the solar plexus, the throat, the knees, he instructs, holding focus mitts for Marcus to strike, the impacts echoing in the garage. Don't worry about looking pretty, worry about making sure the other guy can't continue. Can you feel the twins' transformation, their fear giving way to fierce determination as they embrace this raw, real power? Oh, this is just the beginning. The Thompson twins are rising, and their reckoning is coming. Oh, can you feel the electric surge coursing through Marcus and Michael Thompson as they adapt to their father's grueling drills in that transformed garage, their sweat-soaked shirts clinging to their backs? Their natural athleticism, honed on Milbrook's basketball courts, and months of basic karate training at Warriors Path Karate Dojo, form a solid foundation that David Thompson builds upon with the precision of a seasoned Army veteran. But it's not just their bodies growing stronger, oh no. It's the seismic mental shift David's igniting, turning his 14-year-old twins from defensive victims into aggressive defenders, ready to reclaim their power. The next time that Connor kid grabs you, David tells Marcus, his voice sharp with intent, you don't try to escape the grip, you use it to get closer and hit him where it counts. Can you imagine Marcus's heart racing, picturing himself turning the tables on Connor Mills, that smug black belt bully who's tormented them for weeks? Michael, ever the cautious thinker, hesitates, his analytical mind weighing the risks. What if we get in trouble, he asks, his voice tinged with worry. David's laugh is fierce, unyielding. For defending yourselves against documented bullies? Let them try to explain that to your mother. Oh, can you feel the fire in his words, the unwavering belief in his son's right to stand tall? Meanwhile, across town, the Harrison family sits around their polished dining room table, the clink of silverware punctuating their smug conversation. Richard Harrison, a wealthy insurance executive, swells with pride over his son Jake's rise through the dojo's ranks, his black belt a badge of superiority. Sensei Mitchell mentioned there might be some issues with newer students. Richard says, slicing into his steak, his tone dismissive. Something about cultural differences affecting training dynamics. Can you believe the arrogance, cloaking prejudice in such slick words? Jake nods, his face carefully neutral, playing the dutiful son. There are these twin kids who started a few months ago, they're having trouble adapting to the discipline, he says, his voice smooth but laced with disdain. What kind of trouble? His mother asks, her brow furrowing slightly. They get frustrated easily, sometimes they don't show proper respect to senior students. Jake replies, spinning a tale of patient mentorship. Mitchell's been working with them, but they might not be a good fit for traditional martial arts. Richard frowns, his worldview confirmed. That's unfortunate, but not everyone is suited for the kind of character building that real martial arts provides. Exactly. Jake agrees, his smirk hidden behind a sip of water. Some people just aren't cut out for it. Oh, the gall of it, painting Marcus and Michael as troublemakers while Jake and Connor Mills terrorize them unchecked. The conversation drones on, Jake crafting a narrative that casts him and Connor as saints dealing with difficult kids, his parents nodding with the smug satisfaction of those who believe discipline and respect are their birthright. Can you feel the bile rising, knowing the truth they're ignoring?
Back in the Thompson garage, the training session ramp up, the erratic whisper pause.
David moves beyond basic strikes, teaching combination attacks and defensive counters that feel like weapons forged in fire. They're going to try to use their size and belt rank to intimidate you, he says, circling the twins with a predator's focus, his eyes blazing. But size means nothing if you're faster and more aggressive than they expect. He demonstrates a brutal sequence, closing distance, striking multiple targets, creating space for follow-up blows, each move designed to overwhelm, not out-technique, an opponent. Can you see Marcus and Michael absorbing it, their bodies learning to move with lethal efficiency? This isn't about being better martial artists than they are. David explains, his voice resonant with truth. It's about being better fighters, there's a difference. Marcus unleashes a combination, his fist slamming into the focus mitts with a resounding crack that echoes through the garage. For the first time in months, he feels powerful, oh it's intoxicating, a far cry from a helpless boy battered by Jake's taunts. That's it. David encourages, his voice full of pride. Now add the knee strike we practiced, don't give them time to recover. Michael's progress is just as stunning, his analytical mind dissecting the tactical principles behind each move, his long-suppressed anger fueling every strike with conviction. Can you feel his transformation, the quiet twin finding his roar? Remember. David says as they wrap up, sweat dripping from their brows, this training stays between us. At the dojo, you act the same as always, don't let them know what you're learning here. How long do we keep pretending? Marcus asks, his voice edged with impatience. David's smile is sharp, gleaming with anticipation. Until the right moment presents itself, and trust me, it will.
Oh, quand you feel the promise in those words, the certainty of a reckoning looming.
The next evening, the twins trudge back to the dojo, their yellow belts a stark reminder of their supposed inferiority. They endure Jake and Connor's harassment, oh it's relentless. But something's changed. They take the hits, absorb the insults, but their reactions are cooler, more calculated, their eyes sharper watching, learning. You're getting better at taking punishment. Connor sneers after a brutal sparring session, his black belt swaying as he looms over Marcus. Maybe you're finally learning your place here.
Marcus meets his gaze, unflinching.
We're learning a lot, he says, his voice steady, hiding the storm brewing inside.
Can you see Connor's smirk falte, sensing something is off?
Jake notices it too, his brow furrowing during a water break. They seem less reactive tonight, he mutters to Connor, his voice low. Usually they get more frustrated as the session goes on. Maybe they're finally giving up. Connor replies, his grin cruel.
About time.
But giving up?
Oh, That is the furthest thing from the twins' mans.
As they weather another night of disguised torture, they're cataloging every move: Jake's overconfident jabs, Connor's predictable sweeps, spotting weaknesses, planning responses they're not yet ready to unleash. Can you feel their cunning, their patience sharpening like a blade? Sensei Mitchell, meanwhile, squirms under the weight of David's ultimatum, his discomfort growing. The Harrison and Mills family's money, oh, it's the dojo's lifeblood, makes real change feel impossible, but David's threat looms like a dark cloud. After class, Mitchell pulls Jake and Connor aside, his voice hushed, urgent. "I need you boys to be extra careful with the Thompson twins," he says, glancing nervously toward the exit. "Their father made some complaints, and I don't want any unnecessary attention on our training methods."
Jake's size narrow.
"What kind of complaints?" he asks, his tone defiant. "The usual parent concerns about intensity, nothing serious." Mitchell lies, his voice tight. "But we need to be smart about how we handle things."
Connor's gaz ardent.
"Are you saying we should go easy on them?" he snaps, incredulous. "I'm saying we need to be more subtle.
Michelis.
Make sure everything looks like legitimate training if anyone's watching." The teens exchange a glance, a silent agreement. They'll keep the abuse going, just slicker, sneakier. Can you believe their audacity, doubling down on cruelty? As the twins grab their gear, the dojo's atmosphere shifts, charged with tension. They feel it, Jake and Connor's eyes tracking them, more cautious but no less vicious. They're going to be more careful now. Michael says during their walk home, his voice low, thoughtful. "Good." Marcus replies, his grin fierce. "Careful means predictable. And predictable means we can prepare for exactly what they'll do." Oh, can you sense their confidence growing, their plan taking shape? That night's garage session zeroes in on countering Jake and Connor's techniques, David's military expertise guiding them to exploit every flaw. "They expect you to fight like yellow belts," he says, holding a focus mitt as Marcus hammers close-range combos, the impacts ringing out.
"When the time comes, you'll fight like soldiers."
Can you see the twins' transformation, shedding their victim mindset for something fierce, predatory, ready to strike? 4 weeks of secret training turn the garage into a battlefield lab, the heavy bags scarred from countless combos, the concrete floor scuffed from footwork drills burned into muscle memory. Can you feel the intensity, the twins becoming weapons under David's relentless guidance? One night, David sets down a local martial arts magazine, its pages open to ads for the Tri-County Open. "Tournament registration closes tomorrow," he announces, his voice heavy with purpose. "You boys ready to make a decision?" Marcus wipes sweat from his brow, his breathing steady despite the grueling session, his frame leaner, stronger from a month of David's drills. "We're ready," he says, no hesitation, his confidence blazing. Can you feel his fire, ready to burn away months of shame? Michael's quieter, studying the flyer with his analytical intensity. "Dad, this says they have divisions for different belt levels. We be competing against other yellow belts."
"Notif you ante the open division."
David replies, his tone carrying a challenge that makes both boys snap to attention.
Marcus size widen, understanding donning.
"The open division is for anyone, regardless of rank," he says slowly. "Including black belts, including Jake and Connor." Michael adds, his voice tinged with awe and fear. David nods, his gaze steady. "The question is whether you're ready to show everyone what you've really learned, not just defend yourselves, but dominate opponents who think they're superior to you." Oh, can you feel the weight of that choice, the moment their training becomes a mission?
The garage falls silent, save for the soft creak of the heavy baggage chain.
This isn't just about a tournament, it's about who they'll become. If we do this. Michael says carefully, there's no going back. Win or lose, everyone will know we're not the same kids who started at that dojo. "Are you the same kids?" David asks, his voice piercing. Marcus flexes his hands, memories of helpless weeks flooding back, every failed technique, every humiliating session. "No, we're not," he says, his voice fierce. "But what if we lose?" Michael presses, his doubt surfacing. What if 4 weeks of training isn't enough to beat kids who've been doing this for years? David's smile is fierce, brimming with pride. "Son, they've been doing karate for years. You've been learning to fight. There's a difference." Can you feel the twins' resolve hardening, ready to step into the fire? Later, in their shared bedroom, the twins grapple with the moral weight of their choice. This feels wrong.
Michael whisper, his voice heavy. All the lying, the secret training, the planning for revenge. Marcus's eyes flash, his frustration spilling over.
What feels wrong is letting them think they can treat us however they want. What feels wrong is a system that protects bullies because their parents write checks. But if we hurt them at the tournament, Michael starts, hesitating. If we defend ourselves at the tournament. Marcus cuts in, his voice firm. There's a difference. Michael falls silent, wrestling with his thoughts. Is there? He asks, his voice soft. Dad's not teaching us self-defense, Marcus. He's teaching us to be weapons. Maybe that's what we need to be, or maybe that makes us just like them. Oh, can you feel the tension, the moral line they're towing? Their debate lays bare the struggle brewing in their hearts. They've gained the skills to match their tormentors, but at what cost? Across the house, David lies awake, staring at the ceiling, his own doubts clawing at him. He's spent years teaching his sons honor, respect, working within systems. Now he's arming them to defy those systems with violence. But the memory of their bruises, the racist slurs he overheard, Mitchell's indifference, oh, it burns, justifying every drill, every lesson. Can you see his conflict? A father torn between principle and protection? The next evening in the garage, the decision crystallizes. The tournament's in 3 weeks. David says, his eyes locking onto each twin. If we're doing this, I need to register you tomorrow. After that, there's no backing out. Michael's voice is steady but urgent. What exactly are we signing up for? Just the tournament, or everything that comes after?
David's expression grows grave.
Son, the moment you step into that ring and show what you can really do, everything changes. The dojo, the other students, probably the community. You'll be making a statement that can't be taken back. Marcus's jaw sets, his resolve iron. Good. I'm tired of being quiet about who we are and what we can do. Can you feel his defiance, ready to rewrite their story? Michael looks at Marcus, seeing the fire that's carried them through months of abuse. Despite his doubts, he knows his brother's right. They've tried everything else, enduring, hoping, suffering in silence. Nothing worked but this, becoming strong enough to demand respect. Okay, he says finally, his voice firm. Let's do it. David nods, pride and worry warring in his eyes. Then tomorrow, I register my sons for the Open Division of the Tri-County Open, and we spend the next 3 weeks making sure you're ready for whatever comes next. Oh, can you feel the stakes, the line they've crossed, no turning back? As they dive into their training, the Thompson men know they're on a collision course. The tournament won't just be a competition, it'll be a reckoning, a chance to shatter the lies of Jake, Connor, and the dojo that shielded them. The Milbrook Community Center hums with nervous energy as the Tri-County Open looms, its gymnasium packed with competitors, families, and spectators. Banners from rival dojos flutter from the rafters, and multiple rings to the polished floor, ready for battle. Marcus and Michael sit near the registration table, their yellow belts glaringly bright against the sea of green, brown, and black belts warming up around them. Can you feel their hearts pounding, the weight of what's coming pressing down? They're not just fighting for a trophy, they're fighting for their dignity, their pride, their very place in a world that's tried to break them. Oh, this is their moment, and it's going to be explosive. Oh, can you feel the electric buzz in the air as the tournament coordinator's voice booms through the Milbrook Community Center, his clipboard trembling slightly in his hands? Thompson, Marcus, and Michael, he calls out, his eyes flicking to the twins with a mix of curiosity and doubt.
You boys sure you want the Open Division?
We've got a nice yellow belt bracket that might be more appropriate. Marcus's heart pounds, butterflies swirling in his stomach, but his voice is steady, forged in weeks of secret training. We're sure, he replies, his words ringing with a defiance that silences the whispers around them. Can you imagine the courage it takes? 2 14-year-old yellow belts stepping into the lion's den of the Tri-County Open, ready to face black belts like Jake Harrison and Connor Mills? David Thompson stands behind his sons, a towering figure of quiet strength, his military-honed instincts scanning the gymnasium. His gaze locks onto Jake and Connor, stretching with their Warriors Path Dojo teammates, their black belts worn with a casual arrogance that makes his blood simmer. Their laughter cuts through the warm-up area, loud and mocking as they glance at the Thompsons. Look who decided to show up. Connor sneers, his voice carrying like a taunt. This should be entertaining. Jake nods, his grin cruel. I almost feel bad for them, almost. Oh, can you feel the venom in their words, the smug certainty that they'll crush the twins underfoot? But they don't know, they have no idea what Marcus and Michael have been forging in their father's garage. Sensei Robert Mitchell, the dojo's head, weaves through the crowd, his face a mask of surprise tinged with annoyance. Mr. Thompson, he says, his professional courtesy barely hiding his unease. I wasn't aware your sons were competing today. David's response is calm, but his eyes are steel. Lots of things you're not aware of. Can you hear the edge in his voice, the unspoken challenge to a man who's let his sons suffer for months? The announcer's voice crackles over the loudspeaker, slicing through the tension.
Ring 3, Open Sparring Division. First match, Connor Mills versus Michael Thompson.
A hush falls over the Warriors Path section, parents exchanging smug glances, expecting a quick lesson in why belt ranks matter. Can you feel the weight of those stares, the crowd's anticipation of Michael's defeat? Michael strides to the center of Ring 3, his yellow belt glaringly bright against his white gi, drawing whispers and snickers from the crowd. Can you imagine his heart racing, knowing every eye is on him, judging him as a novice? Connor saunters in, his swagger screaming confidence, his black belt a badge of superiority. Bow to your opponent, the referee instructs. Michael's bow is respectful, steady, but Connor's is lazy, almost mocking, the arrogance.
Fighter ready? Begin.
Connor launches into an aggressive combo, expecting to steamroll Michael with years of technique. His first kick slices through the air, but Michael, what a shock, sidesteps with fluid precision, a move no yellow belt should master.
The counterattack hits like lightning.
Michael closes the distance with explosive speed, his fist slamming into Connor's solar plexus, doubling him over with a gasp. Before Connor can recover, Michael drives a knee into his ribs, the impact stealing his breath. Point Thompson, the referee calls, and the crowd gasps. Can you hear it, the shock rippling through the gym? Connor's face drains of color, his eyes wide with humiliation. This isn't possible. Yellow belts don't score against black belts, not with such ruthless precision. He resets, his arrogance crumbling into desperate aggression, throwing wild combos fueled by panic. Michael absorbs the blows on his guard, then strikes back. It's surgical. A hook to the body, an uppercut snapping Connor's head back, blood trickling from his nose. The black belt stumbles, rage and shock warring in his eyes.
Point. Thompson. Match. Thompson.
The referee raises Michael's hand, and Connor freezes, his mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. This is impossible, he shouts, his voice cracking with raw emotion. He's a yellow belt. This doesn't make sense. Can you feel his world shattering, his pride ground to dust in front of everyone? Meanwhile, Marcus is called to Ring 2, facing Jake Harrison, whose confidence, it's gone, evaporates as he watches his friend's defeat. This won't happen to me. Jake hisses, his voice trembling with desperation. I've been doing this since I was 8 years old. Marcus's reply is calm, almost serene.
Good for you.
Can you see the quiet power in his stance, the patience he's learned through weeks of abuse? The match begins, and Jake throws everything, wild, frantic strikes, years of training unleashed in a panic. But Marcus, he's a different beast now, waiting for his moment with the patience of a predator. When Jake commits to a high kick, Marcus ducks under, driving an elbow into his exposed ribs with a crack that echoes through the gymnasium. Jake's scream of pain, it's piercing, cuts through the stunned crowd. Before he can recover, Marcus grabs his off-balance foe and hurls him with a hip toss, sending the black belt crashing to the mat with bone-jarring force. Point Thompson, the referee calls, and the spectators buzz, parents and competitors struggling to process this upset. Can you feel the energy shifting, the impossible becoming real? Jake struggles to his feet, tears of rage and humiliation streaming down his face. It's raw, his pride unraveling. The second exchange is brutal, brief. Jake charges with desperate strikes, but Marcus counters with surgical precision, a straight punch to the throat, a sweep that sends Jake tumbling.
Point. Thompson. Match. Thompson.
Jake lies on the mat, his body shaking with sobs, his world collapsing. When he stands, his face is a mask of hatred, his pride shattered before the roaring crowd. Can you hear the chaos? The gymnasium erupting in shocked chatter as the Thompson twins stand victorious, their yellow belts defying every expectation?
The Warriors Path Dojo section explode into pandemonium.
This is fraud. Richard Harrison bellows, storming toward the officials, his face red with fury. Those boys aren't yellow belts, they're sandbaggers. Bill Mills, Connor's father, is right behind him, his face purple with rage. They've been hiding their real skill level, this is cheating. Can you believe their denial, refusing to accept their son's defeat? Sensei Mitchell joins the fray, his voice trembling with desperation. There's been some kind of mistake. These boys couldn't even defend themselves 2 months ago, someone's been coaching them illegally. Richard points at the twins, his finger jabbing like a weapon. They're ringers.
Professionnels fictaires prétending to be beginés. I demande en investigation. Oh, the audacity, accusing the twins of de ces tous face.
The tournament director, a patient man in his 60s with a weathered face, steps in, his voice calm but firm. Gentlemen, I've seen the boys' registration. They're legitimately ranked yellow belts from your own dojo. Then they lied about their experience. Bill Mills snarls, his voice dripping with venom. No yellow belt fights like that, it's impossible. Can you feel their panic, their world crumbling as the truth stares them down? Meanwhile, Jake and Connor huddle near their dojo seating area, their humiliation laid bare, tears of rage glinting in their eyes. Their image of superiority, oh, it's shattered. Crushed before friends, family, and rivals. This isn't over. Jake whispers, his voice raw with emotion. They made us look like fools in front of everyone. They cheated somehow. Connor mutters, his fists clenched. Yellow belts don't fight like that, it's not possible. Can you see their denial, clinging to lies as their pride bleeds out? David Thompson approaches, his expression dangerously calm, a father protecting his sons with quiet menace. Is there a problem here? He asks, his voice even but edged with steel. Richard rounds on him, pointing accusingly. Your sons are frauds. They're not yellow belts, this whole thing's a setup.
David de Flanche.
They earned their yellow belts at your dojo, 2 months ago, in front of your instructor. Then someone's been training them illegally. Bill shouts, his voice cracking.
Nos beginés développent ce qu'ils like det.
David's reply is a dagger. Maybe your sons just aren't as good as you thought they were. Oh, can you feel the sting of that truth, hitting like a physical blow? Both fathers recoil, their faces flushing with fury at the idea that their perfect superior sons were bested by kids they deemed inferior. We know what we saw. Richard snarls, his voice shaking. Those boys humiliated Jake and Connor on purpose, made them look weak and stupid. Marcus steps beside his father, his voice quiet but cutting. Maybe because Jake and Connor are weak and stupid.
The word strike like lightning. Quand you hear Jake's strangled cry of rage?
He lunges toward Marcus, but security guards swarm in, blocking his path. That's enough. The tournament director booms, his patience gone. The matches were fair and legitimate, the results stand.
The crowd murmure, the verdict sinking in, but the air crackle with dangerous emotion. Can you feel it? The rage simmering, the wound to rotuil.
As the twins collect their victory certificates, their hands steady despite the chaos, the atmosphere remains charged, like a storm waiting to break. Jake and Connor's systematic humiliation. Oh, it's created enemies who won't forgive or forget. The Thompson family heads toward the exit, their steps light with triumph, but the danger isn't over, oh no. Jake and Connor break from their parents, their faces streaked with tears of rage, their movements wild, desperate. Hey! Jake calls, his voice cracking with raw emotion. Marcus and Michael turn, still riding the high of their victories, seeing 2 defeated bullies but missing the dangerous desperation in their eyes.
Can you sense the trap closing? You think you're so smart.
Connor snarls, closing the distance, his fists clenched.
Think you proved something today.
Marcus's confidence, oh, it's his shield, makes him careless. We proved we're better than you, he replies, his voice steady. Those words, oh, they're the spark that ignites the powder keg. Jake and Connor's humiliation reaches its breaking point, all pretense of sportsmanship vanishing. Connor throws a wild punch at Michael's head, while Jake lunges at Marcus with a vicious tackle, Can you hear the crowd's shocked screams? The twins go down hard, caught off guard by the cheap shots, as Jake and Connor rain punches, their months of pent-up fury exploding into violence. But oh, the twins aren't the helpless boys they were weeks ago. David's training kicks in like a reflex. Can you see it? Marcus rolls away from Jake's wild swings, springing up in a fighting stance, his eyes blazing. Michael absorbs Connor's initial blows, then counters with a devastating uppercut that sends the black belt staggering back, gasping.
You want a real fight.
Marcus snarls, his tournament composure replaced by raw, primal fury. Let's go. What follows is no controlled sparring. Oh, it's a street fight, brutal, unforgiving, months of suppressed rage erupting. Marcus catches Jake with a combo that splits his lip, blood streaming down his chin, while Michael dismantles Connor with precise strikes, each one a lesson drilled in their garage. Stop. Stop, the tournament director shouts, his voice drowned in the chaos as spectators scramble back, the brawl spilling across the gym floor. Jake tries another tackle, but Marcus sidesteps, driving a knee into his ribs that folds him in half with a groan. Connor lands a wild haymaker on Michael's shoulder, but the counterpunch, oh it's perfect, sends him crashing into a folding chair, the metal clattering. Security guards finally swarm in, grabbing all four fighters, pulling them apart with force. Jake and Connor are bloodied, battered, their black belts torn, stained with their own blood. Can you see their disgrace, laid bare for all to see? The twins, breathing hard, show far less damage, their fathers training a shield even in this ambush. What happened here? The tournament director demands, his face red with anger and embarrassment, the event spiraling out of control. They attacked us from behind. Michael says, wiping blood from a split lip, his voice steady despite the chaos. We were walking away. Jake, his nose swollen, protests thickly, that's not what happened. They started it, they've been provoking us all day.
Marcus's eyes flash.
By beating you fair and square, he snaps, his words cutting through the lies. Can you feel the truth ringing out, undeniable in the face of their desperation? The Thompsons' victory isn't just in the ring, it's in their refusal to be broken, their rise from victims to victors, ready to face whatever comes next.
Oh, what a moment, what a triumph.
Oh, can you hear the raw defiance in Michael Thompson's voice as he wipes blood from his split lip, standing tall despite the chaos in the Milbrook Community Center's gymnasium? They attacked us from behind, he declares, his eyes blazing, pointing at Jake Harrison and Connor Mills, whose battered faces tell a different story. We were walking away. Jake, his voice muffled by a broken nose, protests weakly, that's not what happened. They started it, they've been provoking us all day. Marcus, his twin brother, steps forward, his words sharp as a blade. By beating you fair and square. Can you feel the sting of that truth, cutting through Jake's lies like a whip? The crowd buzzes, the air thick with shock after the Thompson twins, mere yellow belts, not only dominated black belts in the Tri-County Open but fended off a vicious ambush. David Thompson pushes through the throng, his face a mask of controlled fury. Oh, can you see the storm brewing in his eyes? A former army man, his protective instincts roar into overdrive as he assesses his son's condition. Marcus and Michael stand upright, alert, their minor scrapes a stark contrast to their foe's wreckage. Are you boys all right? He asks, his hands gently checking for serious injuries, his voice steady but laced with a father's fierce love.
We're fine, Dad.
Marcus replies, his grin fierce. Better than them. Can you feel the pride swelling in David's chest, mingled with rage that his sons were jumped after their legitimate victories? Richard Harrison and Bill Mills barge in, their faces twisting between worry for their sons and white-hot rage. Jake and Connor, oh, they look like they've been through a meat grinder. Their black belts hang tattered, their martial arts pride ground into dust, their faces swollen and bleeding.
D'ici Sasso. Richard Bellow, jabbing a finger at the twins.
Those boys attacked my son.
Davides responsis calme, deadly.
After your son jumped them from behind, in front of 200 witnesses. Can you hear the crowd murmuring, the weight of those witnesses backing David's truth? The tournament director, flanked by security and officials, confers briefly, his decision swift and unyielding. Jake Harrison and Connor Mills are disqualified from this tournament and banned from all future regional competitions, he announces, his voice cutting through the chaos. Attacking opponents after legitimate matches is completely unacceptable. Oh, can you feel the shockwaves rippling through the Warriors Path Dojo contingent, their star students not just defeated but disgraced? Bill Mills, his face purple with fury, gestures wildly at the twins. What about them? He demands, his voice cracking. The director's reply is firm, final. They fought back. They defended themselves against an unprovoked attack. That's not only legal, it's expected. Can you see the Warriors Path parents reeling, their illusions of superiority shattered? Their golden boys banned, humiliated before the entire martial arts community. Sensei Robert Mitchell, his voice trembling with desperation, steps forward.
D'ici outrajou.
There must be some mistake. The director's response is ice-cold. The only mistake was allowing those boys to represent your school. Perhaps you should reconsider your training methods. Oh, the burn of that rebuke, laying bare Mitchell's complicity. As EMTs swarm to check the fighters, the damage is stark. Jake's nose is broken, his lips split, his ribs likely bruised. He winces with every breath. Connor sports a black eye, facial cuts oozing blood, his left arm cradled in pain. Both need urgent medical attention. The twins, by contrast, oh, it's a miracle, bear only minor injuries despite the ambush. David's secret training in their garage didn't just prepare them to win fair fights, it armed them to dominate unfair ones. Can you see the awe in the crowd's eyes, these yellow belts standing tall where black belts fell? Richard Harrison, his voice low with fury, turns to his wife, who's just arrived, pale with shock. We should press charges. This was clearly premeditated assault. David interjects, his tone sharp. Against kids who were walking away when your son attacked them? Good luck with that. Can you feel the futility in Richard's rage, his accusations crumbling against the truth? The Harrison and Mills families huddle, their voices rising in a frantic chorus, grappling with the collapse of their son's martial arts dreams. Those bans, oh, they're a death sentence, will shadow Jake and Connor through their teenage years, crushing any hope of competitive glory. This isn't over. Richard snarls at David as the families part, his eyes burning with vengeance. Not by a long shot. David's reply is calm, final. It is for your boys. They made their choice when they jumped mine from behind. Can you feel the weight of that moment, the Thompsons standing unbowed, their victory etched in blood and courage? As they gather their things to leave, the gymnasium hums with excited chatter, the story of two yellow belts toppling black belts, first in the ring, then in a brawl, spreading like wildfire through Milbrook's martial arts community. Dad, they looked really angry when we left. Michael says as they walk to the parking lot, his voice tinged with unease. David's response is measured, his military instincts sharp. People don't like having their illusions shattered, especially when those illusions involve their children's superiority. Marcus, his mind racing, asks, what do you think they'll do? David pauses, analyzing threats like he's back in a war zone. Probably nothing smart, he says, his voice low. Angry people rarely make good decisions. Oh, can you feel the undercurrent of danger, the sense that this triumph might come at a cost? The drive home should be a celebration. Marcus and Michael have vindicated themselves, proving their worth in both competition and combat, but Richard and Bill's parting words hang like a dark cloud, hinting at trouble yet to come. At home, the twins clean their minor cuts, adrenaline still pumping as they relive their victory. David moves through the house, locking every door, arming the security system. Call it paranoia or experience, but his gut screams that the tournament clash was just the opening salvo. Can you see him, a father torn between pride and vigilance, knowing the Harrison and Mills families won't let this go? Across town, 2 carloads of furious parents and humiliated teens gather in the Harrisons' opulent living room, their conversation a cauldron of rage. For years they believed in Jake and Connor's superiority, in Warriors Path's excellence, in their own untouchable status. Oh, how it's all crumbled in one afternoon, shattered by 2 kids they dismissed as inferior.
We can't let this stand.
Richard Harrison roars, pacing his expensively furnished room, his fists clenched. Our boys were humiliated, banned, destroyed in front of everyone we know. Connor, his lips swollen, mumbles through the pain, it's not fair. They cheated somehow, yellow belts don't fight like that. Bill Mills nods, his eyes blazing. Exactly. There's something wrong with this whole situation, something that needs to be corrected. Can you feel their denial, their refusal to face the truth? As the night wears on, Their anger hardens into something darker than disappointment. It's a plan, a dangerous scheme to follow the Thompsons home and demand a private conversation about respect and consequences. Oh, the recklessness, their wounded pride driving them to the edge. By that night, 2 cars lurk at the end of Thompson Street, their occupants watching the house, plotting their next move. The Thompson home glows warmly in the suburban darkness, its windows spilling light that speaks of family dinners and homework. Can you see the contrast, this haven against the brewing storm? David checks the locks one last time, his instincts on high alert, when the doorbell rings, sharp and jarring. Who could that be at this hour? Lisa Thompson asks from the kitchen, her hands pausing over the dishes, her voice edged with worry. David peers through the front window, his jaw tightening as he spots Richard Harrison and Bill Mills on the porch, still in their tournament clothes, radiating barely controlled aggression. Can you feel the tension, the threat looming at their door?
Stay inside.
David tells Lisa, his voice calm but carrying the authority of his army days. Take the boys to their room. What's wrong? She asks, sensing the danger in his posture.
Nothing I can't handle, juste do what he said.
The doorbell rings again, more insistent, followed by heavy knocking that echoes through the house. Oh, it's menacing. David opens the door but keeps the security chain on, leaving a 4-inch gap to face his uninvited guests. Evening, gentlemen, he says, his tone deceptively light. Little late for a social call, isn't it? Richard's voice is tight, seething. We need to talk about what happened today and what your boys did to ours. David's reply is unflinching. Your boys attacked mine from behind after losing fair fights. What's to discuss?
Open the door, Thompson.
Bill demands, stepping closer, his voice a growl. We're not having this conversation through a crack. Actually, we're not having this conversation at all. David says, his voice firm. It's nearly 11, you're on my property uninvited, and you're clearly agitated, time to leave. He starts to close the door, but Richard shoves his shoulder against it, blocking it. Do you have any idea how much money we've invested in our boys' training? He snarls through the gap. 7 years of lessons, tournament fees, equipment, camps, thousands of dollars, and your boys destroyed it all in one afternoon. David's response is cold, cutting. Your money bought you nothing but entitled bullies. That's not my problem. Can you feel the clash, the truth slamming against their denial? Jake was being recruited by college programs. Bill interjects, his voice rising with desperation. Full scholarships were being discussed. Now he's banned until he's 18. Maybe he should have thought about that before jumping my son from behind.
David snaps. Richard's fury boit l'ovaire.
Your boys are the ones who should be banned. They're frauds, sandbaggers. Yellow belts don't fight like that. My boys earned their victories fair and square.
David counter.
Your boys earned their bans by being poor sports and worse fighters. The men on the porch exchange glances, their frustration mounting as David refuses to back down. Oh, can you see their rage spiraling out of control? We want compensation. Bill blurts, his voice shaking. Financial compensation for what your boys cost our families. David's laugh is harsh, humorless. Can you hear it, dripping with disdain? Compensation for what? Teaching your kids that bullying has consequences? For destroying years of investment? For ruining their futures? Their futures were ruined the moment they decided to target my boys. David says, his voice iron. I just helped speed up the process.
Richard's patience snaps.
Open this door, he demands, his voice a roar. We're going to settle this properly. We are settling it properly.
David retort.
Properly means you leave my property before I call the police. Call them. Bill shouts, his face red. We'll tell them about your boys' illegal training, how you turned them into weapons. Go ahead. David challenges. I'll tell them about months of racial harassment your boys inflicted on mine, see which story they find more compelling. With a swift motion, he unhooks the security chain and steps onto the porch, closing the door behind him. Oh, can you feel the tension spike? Richard and Bill spread out, flanking him in a move they think is intimidating, but David's unfazed, his military training kicking in. You think you're tough because you were in the army?
Richard sneer.
Think that makes you better than us? I don't think anything. David says, his voice deadly calm. I know I raised better sons than you did. Our sons are champions. Bill protests, his voice cracking. They worked for years to earn their rank. Your sons are bullies who couldn't handle losing to kids they thought were beneath them.
David Fearback.
All that training, all that money, and they still got beaten by yellow belts. The words hit like punches. Can you see Richard and Bill's faces flush, the full weight of their humiliation sinking in? You ruined them. Richard whispers, his voice venomous. Years of work gone, college opportunities gone, all because you couldn't teach your boys to know their place. Their place.
David's voice isquier, letal.
And where exactly is that?
Bill steps closer, the racial undertone ugly, unmistakable.
You know damn well where. David's instincts flare, assessing the situation. Two emotional civilians, no real combat experience. Oh, they're out of their depth. Last chance to walk away, he says, his voice calm but final.
We are not walking anywhere.
Richard snaps, throwing the first punch, a wild, clumsy swing. David sidesteps effortlessly, countering with a precise strike to Richard's solar plexus that drops him gasping to his knees. Bill rushes in, flailing wildly, but David grabs his wrist, using his momentum to slam him against the porch railing with a thud.
Stay down.
David commands, but their pride, oh, it's their downfall, drives them to their feet, pain be damned. Can you see the mismatch, David's trained precision against their reckless rage? Oh, can you feel the raw intensity crackling in the night air as David Thompson stands on his porch, his breath steady but his heart pounding from the brief, brutal clash that just unfolded? What a scene. Richard Harrison and Bill Mills, two furious fathers driven by suburban rage, thought they could intimidate a trained soldier, but oh, how wrong they were. The fight was a one-sided masterclass in combat precision, David's military training obliterating their clumsy swings. Richard managed one feeble glancing blow to David's shoulder before a devastating combo bloodied his nose and split his lip, leaving him gasping. Bill Mills fared even worse. Can you picture it? Face down on the porch, David's knee pinning him like a defeated foe, his pride as shattered as his dignity. Had enough? David asks, his voice calm but commanding, his chest heaving yet fully in control. The men, battered and exhausted, can't fight on, but their hatred burns bright. Oh, it's a fire that won't die. This isn't over. Richard gasps, blood streaming from his nose, his eyes blazing with defiance. David steps back, releasing Bill, his reply cold and final. Yes, it is. Your boys are banned, your money's wasted, and now you know what happens when you bring this to my door. Can you feel the weight of that moment, the Thompsons standing unbowed, their enemies broken at their feet?
Sudanly, sirens pierce the key night, red and blue lights flashing, a police cars sont on Maple Street, painting Milbrook et suburban, houses in alternating color like a warning signal.
The police cars screech to a halt, their lights casting eerie shadows across the Thompson home. Officer Martinez steps out, her hand resting casually on her service weapon, her eyes scanning the scene with seasoned caution. Two bloodied men slumped on the porch, one standing tall, hands visible, radiating calm. Someone called about a disturbance, she says, her voice firm but measured. David nods, his adrenaline still surging but his tone steady. That was me. These men came to my property, making threats after 11 p.m. When I asked them to leave, they attacked me. Richard, struggling to his feet, clutches a tissue to his bleeding nose, his voice thick with indignation. That's not what happened. He assaulted us, we came here to talk, and he jumped us. Can you believe the audacity, twisting the truth to dodge their shame? Officer Martinez's experienced gaze takes it all in. David, relaxed yet alert, barely marked by the fight, and Richard and Bill, looking like they've been through a war, their injuries screaming defeat. Sir, what's your name? She asks David, her notepad ready. David Thompson, this is my house, my property, he replies, his voice clear. These men are Richard Harrison and Bill Mills. They showed up uninvited, refused to leave when asked, and became physically aggressive. Bill, his voice heavy with pain and fury, cuts in. We have every right to seek answers. His boys destroyed our children's futures today, years of training, thousands of dollars, all wasted because of what they did. Oh, can you hear the desperation, their refusal to face their son's failures? What exactly did they do? Martinez asks, her pen poised.
Richard's voice rises, frantic.
They attacked our sons at a martial arts tournament, beat them up in front of hundreds of people. David's laugh is sharp, humorless. Can you feel its bite? My sons won legitimate matches against their boys in fair competition, then their boys jumped mine from behind afterward.
Security faux otage will confirm everything.
Officer Johnson, Martinez's partner, returns from talking to neighbors, his report damning. Neighbors confirmed they heard shouting and saw these two men approach the house aggressively, he says. Mrs. Patterson across the street says she saw them push against the door when the homeowner tried to close it. Oh, can you see Richard and Bill's faces fall, their lies unraveling? They were trespassing. David says calmly, his truth unshakable. I asked them to leave multiple times. When they refused and became physical, I defended myself. Richard's voice cracks with outrage. Defended himself? Look at us, look at what he did. Martinez studies the injured men, then David's near-unmarked frame, her brow arching. Sir, do you have any military or law enforcement background? 8 years Army, including 2 combat deployments. David replies, his voice steady. Martinez nods, the pieces clicking. Can you see her understanding why 2 civilians never stood a chance against a trained soldier? Here's what's going to happen, she announces, her tone final. Mr. Harrison, Mr. Mills, you're both going to receive citations for trespassing and disturbing the peace. Mr. Thompson, you're within your rights to defend your property and yourself, but I strongly recommend everyone cool down before this escalates further.
Citation.
Bill sputters, his face reddening. He assaulted us. Martinez's reply is unflinching. You were on his property at 11 p.m., making threats after he asked you to leave. In Texas, that's called trespassing and harassment. The fact that you came out worse in the fight doesn't change who initiated the confrontation. Richard wipes blood from his nose, his face a mask of rage and humiliation. Oh, can you feel his world crumbling? Our boys are banned from competition because of what his kids did. 7 years of training gone, college scholarships gone, and now we're the ones getting cited. Martinez's voice is firm, cutting through his denial. Your boys are banned because they attacked other competitors after losing matches. That's a martial arts organization decision, not a legal one, unless you want to add filing false reports to your citations. Can you hear the threat, their defeat sealed by their own actions? Inside the house, Marcus and Michael peer through their bedroom window, their mother, Lisa, reluctantly allowing them to watch the drama they've sparked unfold.
That's okay.
Marcus whispers, relief flooding his voice as he sees David standing tall, speaking calmly with the police. More than okay. Michael replies, noting Richard and Bill's battered state. Looks like those guys learned the same lesson their sons did. Can you feel their awe, their pride in their father's strength? Lisa stands in the doorway, her nurse's training clashing with her protective instincts, her heart torn as she watches David handle the aftermath with military precision. Your father's always been good at taking care of problems, she says quietly, her voice a mix of pride and worry. Oh, can you see her torn between fear and admiration? Outside, the police wrap up their paperwork, preparing to clear the scene. Richard and Bill sit in separate patrol cars, their citations processed as medics tend to their injuries. Can you picture their humiliation, reduced to this?
Monsieur Thompson.
Martinez says, approaching David as the chaos subsides. You handled yourself well tonight, but I'd recommend installing security cameras and maybe varying your family's routine for a while. People like this sometimes hold grudges. David nods, his instincts already ahead. Already planned on it. Thank you for responding so quickly. Just doing our job, she replies, a hint of respect in her voice. And Mr. Thompson, your boys did good today. Sometimes bullies need to learn that actions have consequences. Oh, can you feel the validation, the Thompsons' triumph echoing in her words? As the police cars pull away, hauling Richard and Bill to face booking and citations, David stands on his porch, surveying the quiet street. Can you see his resolve, a father who's faced down a storm and won? The twins step out, their faces a mix of relief and lingering adrenaline from a day that's changed everything.
Ici au vert, Dad.
Michael asks, his voice soft but urgent. David looks at his sons. Oh, how they've grown. Stronger, more confident, transformed from victims to victors after facing systematic bullying and institutional indifference at Warriors Path Dojo. It's over, he says firmly, his voice unwavering. They know now that you boys aren't victims, that our family isn't going to be pushed around, and most importantly, they know that actions have consequences.
Marcus no, grasping the deeper leçon.
We don't start fights, but we finish them. Exactly. David replies. But we also don't go looking for trouble. Tonight was about them bringing trouble to us. That's different. Can you feel the wisdom in his words, shaping his sons into warriors with honor? As they head inside, David takes one last look at the neighborhood, now silent under the streetlights. Tomorrow brings paperwork, security upgrades, and likely tense talks with school and tournament officials. Oh, the fallout will linger. But tonight his family is safe, his sons have learned to stand tall, and two bullying fathers have faced the same bitter truth as their sons. Actions have consequences. The lesson is seared into their bones, the victory absolute, the twins' transformation from prey to predators complete. Can you see their strength, shining like a beacon? 6 weeks later, Warriors Path Dojo sits empty, a ghost of its former glory. Sensei Robert Mitchell, alone, packs equipment into cardboard boxes, his movements heavy with resignation. Oh, can you feel his despair, watching his life's work crumble? The Regional Martial Arts Association's investigation was swift, merciless, interviewing students, parents, and tournament witnesses to paint a damning picture of systematic harassment enabled by an instructor who valued donor money over student safety. Mitchell's teaching certification, revoked.
The Dojo National Charter, suspended forever.
30 families cancelled their memberships in 2 weeks, he mutters, wrapping his black belt collection in tissue paper, his voice hollow. 15 years of building this place, gone. The financial blow was brutal, without the Harrison and Mills families' hefty contributions, and with parents fleeing en masse after the harassment scandal, the dojo couldn't pay its lease. The landlord, sympathetic but firm, made it clear, businesses tied to such negative publicity aren't welcome in his shopping center. Can you see the final nail in the coffin? Across town at the newly opened Integrity Martial Arts Academy, Marcus and Michael Thompson thrive, their orange belts, earned in just a month, gleaming as they guide younger students. Can you picture them, once targets, now mentors under Master Chun, a former Marine whose dojo draws families fleeing Warriors Path's disgrace? Remember, martial arts is about protecting yourself and others. Marcus tells an 8-year-old white belt struggling with a block, his voice gentle but firm. It's never about hurting people who can't defend themselves. Master Chun nods, pride in his eyes. That's right. These young men understand what real martial arts means, strength used to protect, not to bully. Oh, can you feel the hope in that moment, the twins finding their place as respected leaders? During a class break, Michael leans in, his voice low. I heard Jake Harrison's working at his dad's insurance office now. Connor Mills is doing online school instead of going back to Milbrook High.
Marcus replies calme, without malice.
Good, maybe they'll learn something useful. The tournament's ripple effects stretch far beyond the dojo. Richard Harrison's insurance business, oh, it's taken a hit, losing clients after word spread of his late-night brawl at the Thompson house. Bill Mills, passed over for a law firm promotion, grapples with a tarnished reputation, his police citations a public stain. Can you see their downfall, tied to their son's disgrace? At Milbrook High, the twins' story is legend. Can you believe it? Quiet newcomers now hailed as the brothers who toppled the town's martial arts bullies and exposed Warriors Path's corruption. It's weird being famous for fighting. Michael confides to Marcus as they walk home from Integrity Academy, their steps light. Better than being famous for getting beaten up. Marcus grins, his eyes sparkling. Oh, can you feel their joy, their triumph hard-won but undeniable? The Thompsons have rewritten their story, turning pain into power, and Milbrook will never forget it. Oh, can you feel the warm glow of triumph filling the Thompson household as David secures the final security camera to their Milbrook home, his hand steady but his heart swelling with pride? The precaution feels almost unnecessary now. Can you believe it? With the Harrison and Mills families slinking into embarrassed isolation, their legal troubles a bitter consequence of their actions. As Marcus and Michael burst through the garage door, their faces lit with the energy of a good day, David turns, his voice warm but curious. How was class, boys? Michael's grin is infectious. Good. Master Chun says we might be ready for green belts by Christmas. Can you picture the spark in his eyes, the thrill of progress after all they've endured? More importantly, Marcus chimes in, his chest puffed with purpose, We helped 3 new kids with their techniques today. Nobody gets picked on at our new school. Oh, can you feel the weight of those words? The twins transforming from victims to guardians, ensuring no child faces the relentless harassment they suffered at Warriors Path Dojo? David nods, his satisfaction deep and unshakable. His sons, once battered by bullies, now stand as protectors, their hard-won skills a shield for others.
Can you see the transformation, complète and glorieux, forged in sweat and courage?
Lisa Thompson steps from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a dish towel, her expression a tender mix of pride and lingering worry. Oh, a mother's heart never fully rests, does it? Any word on when the dojo officially closes? She asks, her voice soft but edged with curiosity. End of the month. David replies, his tone firm. Mitchell's been trying to sell his equipment, but most schools won't touch anything tied to his tainted program. Can you imagine the fall of Sensei Robert Mitchell, his once proud dojo reduced to a ghost town, his legacy shattered by his own greed and negligence?
What about Jake and Connor?
Have they found other places to train?
Lisa presse, heure concerne flickering. Marcus S. responsi swift, resolute. Dusn maté.
They're banned from competition until they're 18 anyway, and even then, their reputations will dog them. Oh, can you hear the finality in his voice? The bullies' reign ended, their names now synonymous with disgrace? The conversation pauses as a knock echoes at the front door. Can you feel the brief tension, the Thompson household still wary after months of conflict? But this visitor is no threat. Oh, it's a welcome surprise. Master Chen stands on the porch, his broad smile radiating good news, a manila envelope clutched in his hand. I wanted to deliver these personally, he says, handing it to David with a warmth that lights up the evening. Can you picture David's curiosity as he opens it, revealing official certificates for Marcus and Michael's orange belt promotions, earned in just a month at Integrity Martial Arts Academy? And something even more extraordinary. Tucked inside are letters of recommendation for a youth leadership program run by the State Martial Arts Association. Oh, what an honor. They want the boys to help train instructors in anti-bullying techniques. Master Chen explains, his voice brimming with pride. Apparently, their stories caught fire at the state level. Other schools want to learn how to prevent what happened at Warriors Path. Can you feel the twins' hearts soar, their journey from targets to trailblazers complete? Marcus and Michael exchange a glance, their silent twin bond as strong as ever. Can you see it, that wordless connection that's carried them through pain and triumph? After months of enduring harassment, they're now called to protect others from the same fate. We'd be honored. Michael says, his voice steady, speaking for both, their resolve shining like a beacon. As Master Chen leaves, the family settles into their evening routine, the transformation that began in a garage with a heavy bag and focus mitts reaching its radiant conclusion. Oh, can you feel the power of it? The Thompson twins haven't just learned to defend themselves, they've become leaders, living proof that victims can rise as protectors through grit and guidance. Around the dinner table, the air hums with warmth as David's voice breaks the quiet, his eyes gleaming with pride. You boys proud of what you've accomplished? Marcus's reply is fierce, unyielding. Proud we didn't quit. Michael adds, his voice softer but no less resolute, proud we proved we belonged wherever we choose to be. Together, their voices blend in perfect sync. Can you hear their harmony, unbroken by all they've faced? And proud we can help other kids avoid what we went through. Oh, what a moment, their twin connection shining through, their journey from pain to purpose etched in every word. Outside, Milbrook's quiet streets stretch under the soft glow of streetlights, a deceptive calm masking the upheaval the Thompsons have sparked. The power dynamics, once rigid, unyielding, have been rewritten. Can you believe it? The bullies, Jake and Connor, exposed and defeated.
The corrupt instructor, Mitchell, stripped of everything, his dojo à crumbling ruin.
And 2 young men, once dismissed as easy prey, now stand as respected leaders in their community. Oh, what a victory. Sometimes justice creeps through slow courts and endless committees, but sometimes, oh gloriously. It strikes swift and sure, delivered by those who refuse to let strength belong only to abusers. Marcus and Michael have learned both lessons, their hearts and fists steeled by their trials, ready to carry these truths forward for life. Can you feel their legacy, a beacon of hope and courage in Milbrook's quiet night? Oh, my heart is soaring after diving into the Thompson twins' incredible journey. Marcus and Michael's transformation from victims to fearless protectors is nothing short of inspiring. Can you feel the fire in their story? Their courage, fueled by relentless bullying and their father David's unwavering love, is a powerful reminder of human resilience. I'm deeply moved by how they turned pain into purpose, not just surviving but thriving at Integrity Martial Arts Academy, guiding others to stand tall. The fall of Warriors Path Dojo, oh, its poetic justice, shows how greed and indifference can crumble under the weight of truth. David's fierce protection, Lisa's quiet strength, and the twins' unbreakable bond make this a family triumph that tugs at my soul. Master Chen's recognition of their leadership? It's a beacon of hope, proving that even the darkest struggles can spark change. I'm in awe of their refusal to let hate define them, instead forging a legacy of courage and compassion. This story, raw, real and radiant, reminds us all, justice may come slow, but with heart and grit, it arrives unstoppable.
I'm cheering for the Thompson, whose light will shine long beyond Milbrook.